We've been getting Pokemon Elite Trainer boxes since 2013 with the release of Black and White Plasma Storm. Some of these older Elite Trainer boxes can go for a lot of money today, but that begs the question, are modern Elite Trainer boxes worth investing in? Let's dive in and take a look. What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we'll be discussing if modern Elite Trainer boxes are worth investing in. In the past, Elite Trainer boxes have seen some huge gains. This is mostly due with how great they display and the lack of reprints. With the Sword and Shield era, we saw Elite Trainer boxes get massive reprints due to the increase in demand. This saw Elite Trainer boxes from Hidden Fates and prior to steadily grow in value, while Sword and Shield ETBs have struggled to maintain any growth. To understand if modern Elite Trainer boxes are worth investing in, let's go back and take a look at what made the older Elite Trainer boxes so special. The main reason for older Elite Trainer boxes having the value that they have is due to the lack of reprints. Back in 2013 to 2019, Pokemon cards did not sell nearly as well as they are today. There wasn't much of a demand for ETB restocks, and the Pokemon Company would typically reprint a booster box over an ETB because the ETBs come with so many of those extra little goodies like dice and sleeves. Personally, I remember buying X and Y base set, Furious Fists, and Phantom Forces ETBs, but not really seeing them once the next set would be released. It's hard to find prices on some of these older ETBs, but here's a few that have sold recently on eBay. Now, I wasn't collecting sealed product until 2020, but I remember seeing X and Y Fates Collide back in 2019 on clearance at Walmart for $30. Now, those same Fates Collide ETBs are sitting at $250, some even selling closer to $300. So Fates Collide came out in 2016 and wasn't moving at all up until 2019. And now, since 2019, prices have raised about 800%, even though the Elite Trainer box has been pretty stagnant over the last year. Basically, all Sun and Moon and prior sets have seen similar price gains, besides any of the weaker sets and anything that was reprinted, like Sun and Moon Base. Sun and Moon Base ETBs were reprinted back in 2021, and there hasn't been much movement since. Even here in Canada, some LGS stores still have it in stock for market price and even lower. Another example is Crimson Invasion. I'm not sure if this set was reprinted or if there was just a later wave of ETBs, but I do know this is one of the weakest sets in the Sun and Moon block. There isn't really much to pull from this set, and the two highest valued cards are only sitting around $30. Now, everyone knows the Hidden Fates ETB has been great, even though there hasn't been much movement as of late. But what are some of the other Sun and Moon Elite Trainer boxes that are doing good? Well, a lot of these have done well due to the Pokemon displayed on the box, or the strength of the set in itself. Celestial Storm, for example, has a really nice Elite Trainer box with an iconic Pokemon in Rayquaza. This set also contains a Waifu Chase in Licia, which is valued at over $250, along with the Rainbow Rare Rayquaza GX, which is valued at about $100. So this ETB comes from a strong set that also has an iconic Pokemon on the design. This puts its value quite a bit higher than some of the other sets that were released in 2018. Another strong example comes from the Tag Team era. Actually, all of the Tag Team era ETBs are performing great, with the cheapest being Unified Minds at $295, and the strongest being Team Up, with sales over $500. These Tag Team sets have seen insane price gains over the last year, with Team Up ETBs going up over $200. The reason for this is pretty obvious in the increased value of Tag Team Alternate Art GX cards, with the chase card from Team Up being the Latios and Latios GX, that's going for over $720 raw. Both of these boxes, and in fact all of the Tag Team boxes, follow the same pattern as Celestial Storm, having iconic Pokemon designs on the box itself and extremely strong singles. So looking back at the Sun and Moon and prior sets, these ETBs have a lot going for them when it comes to the set strength, the box design, and the scarcity of the product. So now that we've covered some of the older ETBs, let's take a look at some of the Sword and Shield ETBs and how they can compare. With the Sword and Shield era, we saw a huge influx in popularity for Pokemon cards, while Pokemon was not prepared to keep up with the demand. Up until Champion's Path, Pokemon cards weren't really as popular as they would become, but when Champion's Path was released, Elite Trainer boxes were flying off the shelves. Some resellers and LGS stores were selling them for like $150 and even more. And due to this problem, people going and buying out Walmart's, Targets, whatever, and reselling, Pokemon decided to announce that they were going to print Shining Fates to demand. This new strategy caused massive reprints to the Sword and Shield era ETBs, all the way back until Sword and Shield Base. Surprisingly, one ETB did not receive a reprint, and that was Rebel Clash, and I think that's just due to its lack of popularity. So let's start with Rebel Clash, the laughingstock, or maybe the sleeper of the Sword and Shield era. Rebel Clash was looked at very poorly, with the only cards worth anything being the Boss's Orders and the Sonya, and they're just over $20 in value. With the spike of popularity, everyone was heavily focused on the Charizard tax, Charizard Premium, so everybody was focused on Champion's Path, Darkness Ablaze, and then some of the later sets like XY Evolutions and Burning Shadows. This caused, Rebel Clash to sit on the shelves for months, like not moving at all. I even saw these, for good prices still in like 2022. I decided to pick up a Rebel Clash ETB for $70 in the summer of 2022. Now, not even 2 years later, that ETB is worth double at $150. Now, Rebel Clash doesn't really follow the trend of a strong Pokemon product design or a strong set, but the fact that it was printed a lot less than other Sword and Shield sets has given it a premium for sealed collectors. Another good ETB example is Evolving Skies. To be brief, any Evolving Skies is a good purchase. I'm sure you all know that by now. This is an example of a set being so strong that any product will hold a premium. This box also contains 2 variants with fan favorite Pokemon on each. So even though this Elite Trainer box was printed a ton, it's managed to continue growing in value. I was still finding these and purchasing them as late as summer of 2023 at Walmart's for $30 below MSRP. So this shows that even 2 years after release, Evolving Skies ETBs were still being reprinted and restocked, which never happened back in the XY days. Now that we've covered the stronger ETBs from the Sword and Shield era, we can take a look at some of the others that have had a lack of growth. Pretty much every Sword and Shield set that we haven't talked about yet has failed to see much, if any, growth over the past few years. Even though most of the later Sword and Shield sets have amazing cards with the alternate arts, the amount of supply of these ETBs have halted gains for the time being. With some of the earlier sets getting reprinted even though they were weak, we see Darkness Ablaze ETBs sitting below MSRP at just $33, and we see Vivid Voltage being just over MSRP at $41. Both of these ETBs are still available on Pokemon Center, which shows a lack of demand compared to the supply available. You can see every Sword and Shield set other than Chilling Reign sitting below MSRP, with Silver Tempest as low as $30 and Fusion Strike barely sitting above $40. Comparing these numbers to earlier ETBs really shows how the amount of supply can affect the value. But this doesn't prove that these boxes will be worthless in the future. I wouldn't expect any of the Sword and Shield era ETBs to be worth anything close to what the XY ETBs are worth now. With Sword and Shield ETBs being so widely available, anyone who wants one as a display piece already has one, and there's also not much of a reason to open these up in the future unless it's a holiday set. The only reason I would pick up any ETB today is if I found it below MSRP and if I was okay with holding it for a really long time to see any gains. I'd also consider it if you're somebody who's new into investing and only have a small money to spend, but still, I would save that money and put it towards a booster box instead because it'll be easier to move in the future. Now, I haven't really touched on the Scarlet and Violet era ETBs. They've had a few changes from the Sword and Shield ones. They come with a promo card, which is a huge plus, but none of these promo cards are really holding much value. You can pick them up for a few dollars rather than opening an ETB just for the promo card. If I were to invest in Scarlet and Violet era ETBs, it would have to be the Pokemon Center exclusives, and that's just because that second promo with the Pokemon Center stamp will have a bit of a premium over time. I would also focus on any ETBs that look like they might display nice or if they're my favorite Pokemon or a fan favorite, but still I would veer towards the PC exclusive over the regular ETBs. In the Scarlet and Violet era, it's kind of been proven that booster boxes have a guaranteed 2 hits of either an SIR or a hyper rare per box. But if you look at an ETB, it might cost a third less, but you might only get 1 small hit in that box. You're not really guaranteed a big hit like you would be in a booster box. I think with singles being so affordable and booster boxes just steadily selling below MSRP, it makes way more sense for the Scarlet and Violet era to either pick up a bunch of really iconic SIR singles or sit on like an influx of the good sets in like booster boxes. So with all that being said, we need to answer the question, are modern Elite Trainer boxes worth investing in? My answer would have to be no. They make a good display piece, but for future Pokemon card collectors, ETBs don't really have much to offer except for being a good display piece. They do have packs, some of them have those promo cards, but still, it's going to be way better to just open up a booster box or buy the singles as is rather than rip open Elite Trainer boxes and have like a huge amount of all these loose goodies. Like any sealed product, ETBs will continue to grow with time, but I don't expect them to have the same percentage return as I would expect on a booster box. If you want to invest in ETBs, just keep in mind the strength of the set, the box display, and the scarcity of the product. Those 3 points will help you determine if that Elite Trainer box will stand out amongst the rest. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you've made it this far, let me know what your all-time favorite Elite Trainer box design is. You know, I really like the Celestial Storm ETB, but I'm also a big fan of the PC exclusive Fusion Strike box. So guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. As always, have a great day, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.